The eagle, symbol of Jupiter, patron and protector of ancient Rome, spreads its wings in proud flight, high above the eternal city. To those who would seek reminders of the glory of the Rome of the Empire, the Colosseum provides an eloquent story in stone. Of all Roman amphitheaters, this was the largest and the finest, with seats for 50,000 within its vast enclosure. In this arena were staged elaborate battles of men, of animals, and even of ships. Built by Vespasian and Titus, the amphitheater was dedicated in 80 AD, the opening performances lasting 100 days. The Colosseum is regarded as one of the finest pieces of architecture produced by Imperial Rome. The stonework of the exterior was set in place without mortar, iron dowels providing the only fastenings used. Some 18 years before the Colosseum was opened, Paul, the apostle to the Gentiles, came to Rome. Once a bitter enemy of Christianity, Paul became one of its greatest missionaries and theologians. Here stands his statue within the colonnaded square that spreads before the most famous temple of Christian faith in the world. Here on ground that is hallowed as the place where the great Christian saint was entombed, stands the Basilica of St. Peter, shrine of religion and art. On the 18th of April in 1506, Pope Julius II wrote Henry VII of England. The news he wished to tell him was that on that very day the foundation stone of the present St. Peter's had been laid. Before the Basilica was consecrated 120 years later, in 1626, the foremost artists of the Renaissance were to be linked with its design and construction. Bramante, Raphael, Michelangelo, Bernini. To enter St. Peter's Cathedral is to cross the threshold of a temple not only of religion and art, but of the history of the Western world. Here, woven into a tapestry of beauty and sacred tradition, are works in rich profusion from the hands of devoted artists. Bernini's canopy for the high altar that stands above a vault revered as St. Peter's tomb. St. Peter's statue in bronze, Michelangelo's Pietà, the monument of Pope Alexander VII by Bernini, of Gregory XIII by Rusconi, of Clement XIII by Canova, and from the hand of the same sculptor, the tomb of the last of the Stuarts of England. A holy water basin by Leroni and Moderati, a mosaic of the Transfiguration by Raphael, St. Longinus by Bernini, St. Andrew by Duquesnoy, the towering dome designed by Michelangelo, the crowning glory of St. Peter's. And here, in contrast to vaulting architecture and imposing statuary, light and delicate figures of angels. The Italian Renaissance expressed itself in the religious art of St. Peter's, but it expressed its many-sided genius too in the design of magnificent fountains. This world-famed work is in the grounds of the Villa d'Este in Tivoli, near Rome. Fountains and springs have been a feature of Rome since ancient times, serving as water supply for the people and enhancing public places with their decorative effect. The water of Rome has always been excellent and abundant, and while the design and structure of a fountain may date from the Renaissance or later, the water used may flow from the distant Sabine Hills through an aqueduct built 20 centuries ago. It is said that Bernini made Rome a city of fountains, as well as churches. And in the Piazza Navona stands his fountain of the 4 rivers. Tritons and river gods ornament this work representing the Nile, Ganges, Danube, and Rio de la Plata. Bernini was a master of the Baroque style in art. And above all, in the sculpture of this fountain, he sought dramatic effect. "16 centuries before Bernini fashioned his fountains, Rome was experiencing the rich urban life of an age of imperial glory. Where now there are only silent ruins, in that day there were bustling streets, busy shops and marketplaces, temples, and public buildings. This was the center of empire for Julius Caesar, Augustus, and the emperors that followed. But the pomp and power of empire vanished centuries ago. Pools that reflected imperial splendor now mirror scattered ruins. So too with the grounds of Hadrian's palace in Tivoli. Here birds find silent sanctuary in gardens once reserved for one of the greatest of the emperors of Rome. The ruins of archways, these are fitting reminders that Hadrian was a builder. Throughout a reign of 20 years, he built the outward citadels of empire as well as an inner structure of law, sound finance, and humane public policy. To the gardens of his villa, Hadrian would return when resting from his travels throughout the length and breadth of the empire. Travels that took him to Britain, Africa, Greece, and Palestine. Yet, even here, were reminders of the affairs of a mighty empire. For within the 8-mile length of his estate, Hadrian built replicas of the places in the provinces that enjoyed the greatest renown. His empire in miniature was about him. This wall, within the grounds, calls to mind a vaster wall of Hadrian, erected to defend the northern frontier of the Roman province of Britain. Perhaps in this very setting, the emperor formed his building plans for Jerusalem, Athens, and small provincial towns. Here, perhaps, beneath rows of cypress trees, Hadrian walked and talked with the learned men of his time. For he liked to have about him philosophers, scholars, and poets. Such are the memories that crowd forward as we stand amid the splendors of the imperial palace of Hadrian, a man who gave to the Roman Empire an age of resplendent glory and strength. Later came the twilight and the long night after. Empires pass away, imperial glories vanish, but tradition lives on. Even today, on special occasions, fireworks light up the historic structures of Rome, as they did in the 17th century when Italy was renowned throughout all Europe for the artistic elaboration of its fireworks displays. So are the splendors of the past recalled, and so is their passing honored. Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor and philosopher. He it was who said, "All things are formed by nature to change, and to be transformed and perish, so that other things in continuous succession may exist."